saw a YouTube thumbnail the other day. It was like our podcast making us stupid. I think ours definitely is.
Right, I don't think it's making us stupid. I think we already were.
Well, we think that's the deed. It's like
we're just capturing evidence, if anything.
You can't dig further from the bottom of the barrel, can you? But like, I think it was the thumbnail was something like our podcast making people stupid, and I think like, I think to be honest, we got to hold our hands up and say probably.
Probably.
Most likely making people stupid. Not making them stupid, but like. You could
encouraging stupid people to be.
Well, no, I think it's more that you could be super smart and listen to our podcast, and no matter what, like no matter where you are on the spectrum,
it'll lower it.
It's like a, what are they called? It's like the opposite of a buff in like a tabletop game.
Yeah, or would you say that our podcast is a catalyst for stupidity?
It's more like a millstone around the neck of intelligence, I think. Hello and welcome to the Scrambled Checksum podcast, a show with such high quality production and animation that we have nothing to fear from OpenAI's Sora taking our jobs. I'm Kieran, one of your hosts, the guy who drew some of these characters, and I'm joined by my good friend Ethan, who is modelling a rather stylish cowboy hat and a jumper so colourful and garish it could never be cloned by any kind of AI.
Impossible.
Ethan, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, and I'm so grateful that we've carved out our niche on the internet. I was genuinely considering it for a while there. It was looking like having I nearly slipped up there and said having our real faces, but I mean having photorealistic versions of our real faces.
High quality art. One thing I've
would
noticed
be the way to hide from the or overcome the AI revolution. But now I think this cartoon thing might be the better, because it's so shit that it couldn't possibly have been generated by AI.
Done by anyone but a human.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed actually the other day is that your neck is freaking swole.
Oh yeah, I've got full on like glandular fever over here.
I never noticed that, and then I saw it the other day, and now I can't stop looking at it. It's like so chunky.
Yeah, chunky. I do neck workouts.
That almost makes it look like it was AI generated, but I can assure you that was hand drawn.
Yes.
Weird looking neck.
Yeah, no AI around here.
It may look like AI, and also the fact that our hands are hidden under the tables may also make it look like AI. Because
no matter how hard you try, you can't make these characters eat spaghetti.
Just try. Just give it a go. Just run it through.
You write as many prompts as you want into Sora or whatever the
thousands of lines of prompts.
Sorine or whatever the fuck it's called.
You could write thousands of prompts and you'd never get characters this detailed. But you know what might be able to render these characters even more beautifully than you may currently be seeing them on your mobile device, tablet, or desktop computer?
Oh, you mean in a way that's not at all mildly disturbing?
No, not at all. And that is the Apple Vision Pro. And you've actually just given me a really interesting idea of, like, you know how it generates those
personas.
Those, like, what are they called? The me's.
They're called personas.
The personas.
The personas.
You know how it generates?
That's a whole different thing.
It generates them using the LiDAR, right?
Yeah. It does have like multiple cameras to do depth perception as well. So I don't fully know, to be honest.
It must be some kind of camera, because it can do skin tone as well, right? So it's camera plus probably LiDAR to get the like shape of your face, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
With the like 1 billion data points or however many. But here's my theory. Do you remember when Face ID first came out and there were those viral videos of people trying to get it to unlock with a 3D print of someone's head?
Yeah.
Or like a plaster cast of someone's head. Obviously that didn't work because I forget why they didn't work, but they didn't work. Not super reliably anyway. I think someone had one work in one video. But yeah, here's my thought. Could you make some kind of ungodly persona with like a 3D printed head? Because like it's not checking anything. It's just a scan, right?
I can't see why not.
So could you make yourself some kind of like ungodly monster on your persona?
Yeah.
Like, is there any... Because it's just like a scan. So could you just get like a model of something, hold it up, and...
Hang on 2 seconds. Let me hit up Marquez.
Yeah, could... Marquez. I know you've got a lot of stuff that's probably more important to test, but this is the real work.
Yeah, this is the real questions that everyone's
like
asking.
if you put like you remember Rugrats and the Cynthia doll, where it was kind of like all that Angelica had, it was all kind of like broken and busted. If you like held that up to the camera,
you've completely lost me.
Well,
I think this
young.
might be the age gap between us.
Yeah,
showing.
a bit of an age gap showing there. Anyway, if you had some kind of if you took, I don't know, like a pile of Play-Doh and molded some kind of like eldritch horror, could you hold that up to the camera for like the persona scan, and it would just be like, okay, that's your face, and then animate
big enough,
it.
I can't see why not.
I don't know how the animation would work.
I think as long as it had defined enough facial features.
Like, these are eyes, this is your mouth. Yeah,
Yeah.
I assume it probably goes like, this isn't... But they'd have to be careful with that. Because you know the first... you know if it said, like, this isn't a face?
Yeah.
And that would be terrible PR, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Apple would want to avoid that at all costs. And there's no security implications to it not detecting... to it seeing something that's not a face and being like, this is a face.
Well, yeah, because it's separate to the... Yeah, it's not like it's actually using it for authenticating the user in any way, because that...
Yeah, like Face ID you can get, because if you couldn't just draw like two eyes and a mouth on a piece of paper and hold that up as your Face ID, because that'll...
Well, yeah, because it doesn't do... It uses... it's basically an iris scan, which... yeah. That's
but like the personas don't need any of that.
No.
So could you fake one?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
If you'd like us to test this for real, how much are they? £3,500.
Yeah, or you've got and you can't even get them outside of the US. But yeah, so all you need to do is pay for us to fly to the US, purchase a headset somehow, probably for a much more inflated price because they have sold out. So we'll have to buy one second hand.
Of course they have. Yeah.
And they'll probably be being scalped. So we probably need at least like 20 grand.
I think as well, we also need to factor in that the first 2 or 3 that we buy will probably just be a Vision Pro box full of pebbles.
Yeah.
That we'll have to deal with. And then also, so you know the what's it called? Eyes on the eye thing.
iPhone?
No. Yeah, what's that device called? The it's like a phone. It's like the e-phone.
The e-phone.
That's not it. The
phone. That's what they used to call it.
Yeah, the B phone. No, it's the free phone. Definitely not that. No, the
Freedom phone. Yeah.
You know the eyes. You know the eyes that appear on the outside. Whatever they call that.
Fucking hell! Yeah,
the
mess.
pass-through.
That looks nowhere near as good
the false
as it does
advertising
in any of the fucking adverts. Jesus Christ.
First off, like. So if you haven't seen Marquez Brownlow's video, MKBHD's, check it out, because his footage of that, like, pass-through of the eyes is true. It looks like he bought the Wish.com version of a Vision Pro.
It's not as bad as the iFixit one.
Really? Was theirs worse? Because Marquez's was so bad, it was like...
It wasn't worse. It was more just like, for some reason, it made her eyes closer together than they actually were, and it made her... To me, what it reminded me of is it looked like an Aardman animation character.
Oh, weird. I know there was some people saying about the... I think Marquez touched on it too, about the fact that lenticular effect wasn't perfect, so sometimes it looked like they weren't far back enough and it looked kind of weird.
Yeah, I think there's a few problems with it, isn't there? Because basically, I think the main problem is brightness.
Yeah, they just like advertise. How is that not false advertising? It looks completely different.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that can't be actual footage that they've got.
It can't
basically.
be, because
it's got to be
ads,
composited and like.
Yeah, and how is that allowed? Because it literally does look like you've bought a knockoff one. Because
I think no one in their right mind is going to complain about being missold, because you're not buying one of those unless you can afford to literally piss $3.5 grand down a drain.
Is it just because?
And there's so few of them being sold.
Have any been sold? It's just they've given them all out to people who document Apple, and they know that if they
I don't think they have been given out. I think they've been bought.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they did say. You're right. Actually, they did say they bought them.
Yeah.
Maybe you had to be on a list like a fancy car, where you still have to pay for it, but you get the privilege of paying for it.
Well, you had to pre-order.
Yeah, which again, it's like that kind of self-selects where you have to have a lot of money.
And basically, what you're basically they're calling it the Vision Pro, but what it actually is a developer kit.
Yeah, the Vision Beta.
Effectively, it's a dev kit, but without the actual ability to access any developer options.
You can just it's more of a test. I guess it's more of a test kit in that you can test the apps that people, or you can look at the videos of people who've mocked up what apps could look like that are really cool.
Yeah.
On short videos on Twitter.
Did you see that F1?
Oh, the F1 app looked amazing, but then
fucking cool.
If you were like a massive F1 fan, that would just be the peak way to watch it. But they don't exist yet, do they? It's like we can watch the video of that and imagine all the apps. But what I was saying about the pass through, the eye mask mode, eye thing.
I don't know what it's called, but I know.
If you put it on a pumpkin with like a face drawn on it, would it pass through that? Because I feel like that would make for a hilarious visual.
No, because that's working off the persona as well. So it's not actually a live feed video of what.
But how does it get the eye tracking? Oh, it's
tracking your eyes and using that to generate an image of what you're. Yeah. Which
so if
you it doesn't even have to be particularly. I mean, the screen's so shit anyway that it doesn't have to be very accurate, because even if it was, you couldn't tell.
So if you tracked your persona as this pumpkin head, and then you put the pumpkin head inside the Vision Pro, and then moved it around a bit, would it show the eyes?
Well, no, because it is actually tracking where the eyes are looking. So but
if you put like googly eyes on it, for example.
Well, and then give it a bit of a shake around.
Yeah, give it a bit of a shake, like you were moving, like you jostled it up and down a little bit, like you were jogging or something.
I don't know. I feel like it probably wouldn't work.
I feel like this warrants more testing. If anyone out there has a...
We're asking the real questions.
Yeah, this is the real questions. No, you don't need to know about spec. You don't need to know about how severe the screen door effect is. You don't need to know about refresh rate.
Not at all severe.
Yeah, apparently not at all. But you don't need to know about that. This is a real test that we need.
Okay, so let's move on to the
actual point.
The actual point, yeah. So the thing that has, I've wanted to get a VR headset for quite a long time, and the thing that's put me off is that. So basically, for quite a while now, the only player, like actual player in the
space,
was
Google Cardboard.
Was Google Cardboard, absolutely. But other than them, was Meta.
That's too expensive. It's
Meta,
like from
formerly Facebook.
Yeah, the Meta Quest.
Yeah. So and now Apple have come along, who aren't. I mean, I'm not even going to say they're better than Meta. They're bad in other ways, or possibly the same ways, but they pretend that they're not. Sort of like so.
Their reputation is better, whether rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
I think if you had like a brand reputation scale, Meta's would be way down because of Facebook and all the shittiness there, whereas Apple's would be higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, it's interesting to me that you mentioned it's just Meta and Apple. So what's your take on discounting, obviously, the high end of the market, like the Google Cardboards? I noticed you didn't mention the Vive, which I guess is more of a gaming thing, so I get that.
Yeah, but the Vive is kind of like, I don't know, are they even really refreshing it or really putting any work into it anymore at all?
I get it, because I know HTC had a load of struggles, didn't they? And I think that hampered the Vive, and I can't remember if Valve took it in how... I forget what happened.
From what I've understood, Vive is just not even really a competitor anymore.
It was always more of a gaming thing, wasn't it?
Which is where I'm interested. Like, that's the one thing where I'm looking at the Apple Vision Pro, and I feel like it doesn't do anything.
In terms of because if you think about the ecosystem,
what are you buying it for? Like what?
Because even if you think of like the future stuff, so there's that like really cool F1 viewing experience we saw that is genuinely pretty amazing, but you're not going to buy like thousands of. You probably like the average person.
Well, if you can afford a Sky.
Well, yeah, exactly.
F1
you can't
subscription, you can
no
probably
one can
afford.
It's like the old computers in the 50s, where it's like it'll only be affordable by the 8 richest kings of Europe. It's like,
yeah,
if you can afford a Sky subscription and the device, then you're one of a market of about 10 people in the world.
I could afford them if I like lived in a ditch for the rest of my life.
Didn't eat.
Yeah.
But like the other one I was going to mention is if you're discounting gaming, which it sounds like you're not, where does that place the HoloLens?
Well, that's the thing, like,
because if it's like, it does feel like a two company thing where it's the MetaQuest or the
I think
Vision
it is
Pro.
more of a HoloLens competitor than a.
It is, yeah. It's more of a productivity thing, isn't it? It's trying to be like a
Well, it's
productivity
trying
and a
to be,
viewing
but it
enhancement.
isn't though, because the functionality isn't there. Like, there's 3D models and stuff, but they're all gimmicky. Just like, here's something that we've got. You can't like put your own 3D models in there, as far as I'm aware.
So yeah, and here's the other thing I'm confused about. So you were saying about like the gaming side of it being like a big focus for you.
But there are no games on it currently.
That's the thing, and like even to me, the Vive is the best one for gaming.
Oh yeah, probably.
So it's like if you want just gaming, I have used a Vive a few times. I don't own one because I don't have the space or the money or the PC. But the gaming experience on a Vive is genuinely incredible, and there's some games for it that actually feel finished, like Half-Life Alyx, Beat Saber. I think Beat Saber is also on the MetaQuest.
Yeah.
Half-Life Alyx I think also works with that, but obviously it's designed around the Vive because it's Valve. But like I think gaming, it's the Vive or bust, pretty much. I think the MetaQuest has games, but a lot of them, to me anyway, look a bit like the kind of tech demo type games where it's like it's fun for 20 minutes, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not for like a gamer. It's more of a like, this is a fun experience for a streamer. This is a fun game to play for half an hour with friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, then where does that put the Apple one? Because
I'm just like, I'm very interested in the technology. I just can't understand. I can't think what I would use it for.
Yeah, it's like it's a productivity product in terms of what it feels most finished for, but it doesn't feel like, apart from the ability to use it as a monitor for
you can't even use it as multiple monitors, only one.
Yeah, just the one. That the fact that you can have a monitor of any size is pretty cool. But apart from using it as a monitor,
but not any aspect ratio.
Not any aspect ratio. Also, apparently it gets a bit uncomfortable in terms of eye strainy. This is just a few accounts I've seen from other videos. Yeah. So you're not going to sit there and do like a day of work, I don't think.
Yeah.
On the Vision Pro, I think it would get too painful, too strainy on the eyes. I don't know. That it seems like there's some kind of reason that it gives you a bit of eye strain after a while. But then it's kind of like a productivity tool that can only do like a couple of things that are kind of helpful in certain niche scenarios.
I think that's the thing. Like I feel like it doesn't do anything that you couldn't already do. I think that's what I'm like, because like if you think back to like why like the iPhone was revolutionary, because like people keep comparing it to the iPhone, and saying, oh well, when the iPhone launched there was no app store and blah 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 blah, but the iPhone still had some unique selling points in that until that point there were 0 phones available that could browse desktop websites. There was
was
0
like
phones.
Thing of like, oh well, people won't want the iPhone because it doesn't have a physical keyboard.
Yeah, there were 0 phones with that amount of screen real estate for reading emails and documents or looking at maps while you're out and about.
Plus all the stuff that I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, but some of the stuff they invented in terms of touchscreen control, like was pinch to zoom. It's probably not.
No, pinch to zoom. That was a thing that was at the very least popularized. That was one of the things that they showcased in the original.
And the way that the acceleration on that.
Yeah, the iPhone genuinely brought things that you until that came out, you couldn't do them.
Yeah, the Vision Pro doesn't really feel
but
like
the Vision Pro doesn't do that. Like,
it's got some new tech that's really good.
You can watch a movie in your living room. Oh, okay, well, I could already do that with my TV. Oh, well, but what about in bed? Well, I could do that with my laptop or my iPad or my phone. Oh, what about on a flight? See above. It's you can have a worse FaceTime experience.
Yeah, I don't really get the personas, to be honest.
Like,
that I don't really.
It feels like a placeholder.
Yeah.
Like if it was actually like a full avatar like in the room, and it was like they're in the room with you. Epic. Yeah. Okay, that would be like, okay, yes, this is fucking awesome. But it's not.
No, like the
I mean, it might be one day. It probably will be one day if it keeps getting investment. But like, I don't know.
The personas at the minute, they don't really make sense to me, because I feel like it's a cool tech in that they can make that 3D model, but I don't understand what advantage it gives versus just a camera feed of you.
It doesn't.
You can't do a camera
You
feed
can't
of you
do
because
a
you've got a
camera feed
headset
because
on.
you've got a headset on, yeah.
So I guess it's like, oh, it's the next best thing, but that's not like a step up from a camera feed. That to me is a step down. Like seeing an avatar of someone.
Yeah.
That admittedly is really cool how they're doing the real-time stuff with that to make it, move in the way that you're moving. It's really cool. But I don't really see the
I don't know. It's like,
this is an improvement. It's more of a like, it's a compromise.
Yeah, it feels like a technology demonstrator. I think that's what. And
I think if they can nail the like in person, if you've all got, but because it's Apple, they'll do it. So if you've all got Vision Pros, you'll have a wonderful experience. You can all walk around and you can point at things and you can all see the same monitor from someone's. Like, can you imagine that? Like, you screen share into your FaceTime call. You're all in like a virtual environment and you can point at stuff on your screen share on like a 72-inch virtual monitor.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, yeah. I feel like that kind of thing, like but that kind of brings me to the next thing. Like, do you think that this will ever be there'll be an open standard for communication? So trace this out into the future. Meta have their whatever Quest bollocks. Microsoft probably have their whatever iteration of Hollow bollocks.
Hollow Teams.
Hollow Teams. And like, do you see there being an open standard where you can have I could have my Vision goggles and from Apple and you could have your Google Cardboard goggle thing,
and we can all be in the same.
And we can all be in the same. Yeah.
I think it depends, because that was one of the. I don't know if you've seen the video from Mark Zuckerberg where he says that he doesn't like the Vision Pro. He criticizes it basically in his video.
Man who has competitor products says that competitor's product is shit.
Yeah, he kind of slated it in a video in a bedroom somewhere, and he's calling the Meta he's calling the Meta Quest the open standard. He compares it to he says like, oh, the desktop PC market was won by Microsoft with their open operating system. The phones market was won by iOS with its closed market. And I think that the Meta Quest, I think it's going to change with this technology shift, and I think the Meta Quest is going to win with our open tech, which I'd like to hear a bit more about how the Meta Quest is more open.
Windows isn't really open.
Yeah, there was some interesting, and he kind of made it sound as though iOS was like a massive front runner, which
also, well, yeah. Windows
it's like Android.
Windows is the only thing that makes Windows more open than Mac OS is the fact that you can run it on a large variety of different hardware.
And then there's the fact that Windows is kind of arguably getting more closed.
Yeah.
In some ways, with like the Microsoft Store.
So like his based on that argument, where are all the other headsets that are running the same operating system as the Meta
That's
Quest,
the thing. It's like
and can access the same environments, etc.
It's like, in what way is the Meta Quest more the open standard? And then it's like, oh, the iOS won the mobile thing with their closed tech, but it's like, Android still exists, but then is that really open? Because then it's the default is that you all install everything through the Play
Also,
Store.
iOS hasn't won. Like, globally, Android has a higher market share.
Well, I think iOS may have overtaken it globally. I think. Or is gaining on it. I think Android took a bit of a slide globally. It may still be the top. It probably is still the top. But yeah, it did take a bit of a hit. But like, I guess
know in the US, I know in the US it's.
Oh, the US is ridiculous.
iOS is definitely.
Yeah. But I think to answer your question, like, will there ever be an open one? I think, because I think if there's one clear winner, then I think it'll be closed. Because if you had like an 80% market share of this space, why would you open up your ecosystem to competitors if you didn't have to? Like, if your system was run by the majority of worldwide, whatever we're calling this, headset tech, then you'd have no incentive to. In fact, you'd have quite the opposite, because you'd have like a monopoly, and you'd probably be forced to eventually. But then you're already in a dominant position. So I think if someone wins it, it'll become a closed standard. But I think if it's really fragmented, maybe there'll be an incentive for some kind of cooperation where it's like we'll all license our tech to each other, and then probably have I guess it'll become like messaging, right? Where you can install WhatsApp on your iPhone and send messages to Android
so there'll be
users.
like a WhatsApp VR, an
Yeah.
iVR.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah.
I think that's more likely. There'll be like an Apple one where it'll be like the status symbol, like iMessage, right? When it's like, oh, what do you call guys who have don't send you blue ticks because they don't have an iPhone?
However, having said that, WhatsApp is being forced to become interoperable with other messaging platforms in Europe.
What was that? Sorry, dude, you cut out for a sec.
WhatsApp is being forced to become interoperable with other messaging platforms in Europe.
That's really interesting. So, like,
iMessage has escaped this because it doesn't have a high enough market share to be considered a gatekeeper.
Oh,
in Europe.
That sucks.
I don't care because fuck iMessage, but
yeah, what does that mean then? Because what if you had one that's like,
so basically, in theory, I could send a message to you, and you could have a handful of other apps that are considered gatekeeper apps or have decided to be compatible with this industry standard for communications, and you could receive the message and you don't have to be using WhatsApp to do that.
But how would that work with someone who's got a very different like privacy policy to WhatsApp and kind of sells, like, if you sent a Signal message, does that mean that WhatsApp would honor
effectively I think how they're hoping it works is it'll be like it'll almost be like sending an SMS to is now to someone on a different mobile provider.
I'm worrying that this is one of these where they don't fully understand how the technology works, and it'll be a case where, because what happens if you've got, I guess the apps can decide if they want to support it, but if you had something like a Signal, and then someone sent you a WhatsApp message, it creates this weird thing where, like, does it mean that their message to you is not under Signal's privacy policy until it is delivered? Or is it like, and then what happens when you send a message to them? Is it like it's under, because they wouldn't, that's where I'm struggling.
I don't know.
No, I guess it's like they probably wouldn't support it, would they? Because they wouldn't have any interest in doing that.
I think basically they basically, I imagine how someone like Signal would deal with it is basically like, you're messaging someone who is using the WhatsApp client. This is outside of our jurisdiction, so we cannot guarantee your privacy.
Yeah, or it would be like your message is encrypted until it hits. Well, I guess they could still.
It's still end-to-end encrypted.
Yeah, it's end-to-end encrypted, or even with WhatsApp, isn't it? Unlike WhatsApp to WhatsApp, but yeah, it's obviously there's some suspicions there allegedly.
Well, that's another win this week. in Europe they've ruled that the benefits of allowing law enforcement to have a backdoor access into encrypted messaging services are outweighed by the human rights violation that basically is of like basically being able to read anyone's messages through a back door. And they basically said, no, we're not doing it, we're not allowing, that
is fantastic news.
Yeah, which like finally a fucking win for privacy. Like,
my God,
yeah.
I remember probably, God, this has got to be over 10 years ago now. I emailed, the only time I've ever contacted my local MP was when they were looking at bringing in the ban, or when there was talk of bringing in a ban on encryption.
Oh my God.
Because they were like, do you remember that about 20 years ago?
I mean, I was 5, so no.
Oh, well, about 20 years ago, I think it was. There was talk, or maybe slightly more recently, there was talk of like, oh, encryption's used by bad people to send messages to each other, so we need to put a stop to this technology. And they didn't understand that like you can't just say we need to be able to see everything that's encrypted, because that compromises things that actually need that level of security. And it would have been a stupid decision, and basically every like company that was in any way involved with anything to do with tech was like, this is a terrible idea, don't do it. And I actually emailed my local MP at that point, and I was like, this is bollocks, please don't.
Did you get a totally not copy paste response explaining?
I actually did.
Explaining in a quite patronizing way why you're completely wrong.
Honestly, I will be fair. I sent quite a long email, and I did genuinely get like a unique response. It wasn't like a copy pasted thing.
Okay.
The person in question did, and they did. Honestly, I was really surprised. They did actually say, "Hey, I'm not super familiar with the technical implications of this. I'm gonna look at more information about it before I whether they did or not, you know, who knows. They didn't respond to my follow-up email.
Your email might have saved the United Kingdom from a horrible
well, yeah,
fate.
I don't want to take too much credit, but I did.
Take all the credit. I'm giving it to you.
I was genuinely quite impressed with the response I got from the MP in question, and I'm glad to see that we're finally moving away from this thing of like, oh, we need a backdoor and everything just in case.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, obviously, what's going to happen in the UK, because, I mean, the UK government's been talking about doing it. I know Apple and even Meta have threatened to pull out of the UK if it becomes mandated that they have to have a backdoor in. Because basically, if you put a backdoor in, it doesn't matter like whether you say it doesn't matter whether you say, oh well, we're only going to give the keys to this group of good actors. Yeah, but what if someone steals the keys?
It's basically like add an exploit.
Yeah.
Everyone knows exists.
Thingy's law, isn't it? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
And it's also the fact that if everyone knows that there's a backdoor in a service, then it becomes like this massive target. Cause can you imagine if there was if everyone knew that, like, okay, there's a backdoor in, say, WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption algorithm. If you can, there is a facility where some people can read every single message unencrypted. Like, you know that exists. It's not like a 0 day where you have to discover it.
Yeah.
It's like
it's by design.
Yeah, it's not like you have to research and think of like an attack vector and then think if it's even possible to begin with, which it might not be. It's like that this system has a flaw that you could exploit. So like if you're if you've got like state level backing, you're gonna find that vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
And you're just not gonna tell anyone. You'll just quietly just steal that data. Yeah, which is ridiculous. But I suppose just to kind of close out our thoughts on the Apple Vision here. What's your take? Do you think there'll ever be an open standard for kind of Apple Vision?
I really hope so.
I do as well, because it'll be nice to not have another closed tech ecosystem. And do you think that the Apple Vision will? Do you think it will continue? I guess it probably will for at least a couple more generations because it's Apple and they'll want to fund it. But because I don't see them going down the direction of Meta where they just double down and make their whole life about it.
No. I'm not. I'm yet to be convinced it's the next iPhone, which is what loads of people are saying it is.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Do you think it'll be more like a HoloLens type device where they target it more at kind of business? I guess it's not really a business.
No, Apple isn't in the. Apple is well and truly in the consumer tech market,
or like the freelancer, like really high end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess. Do you think they'll?
I think the problem. I think the tech. I think MKBHD put it quite well when he said, I can't remember if it was his video title, I think it was like tomorrow's idea, today's tech.
That was the title, yeah, that second one, yeah.
I think that sums it up perfectly.
I think it does. It's like it's great. It's great tech. I'd love to see more innovation in it. It's too expensive for a start. 'Cause it's
too expensive. It's too. I just can't see it catching on until it's something that you can comfortably wear all day without thinking about it, like a nice
and has the battery
like a nice pair of headphones.
Yeah, exactly, and like it has the battery to sustain that, like a nice pair of headphones.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope that they bring a lot more cool tech though to the VR space, because if they can develop some more stuff that isn't just like gimmicky stuff, but they actually brings more value to the kind of augmented reality stuff, that'll be super cool because it's like it's the future.
Yeah, but, like I want augmented reality. I'd much rather have a device like that I can stick on my face and take off my face and have, say, like a fucking Neuralink brain implant.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just because of like it's not like I don't want to have intrusive surgery or whatever. It's more like I want to be able to take the digital world off. when
Ethan,
too
no
much.
problem whatsoever if he has to have intrusive brain surgery. That isn't the hang up. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's like you want to have the option to just slide him off.
I want to be able to yank the cord whenever I want to.
Without also yanking the brainstem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think there's probably, to close it out, like there's probably a happy medium, right, where it's you have something like a Vision Pro, but it's kind of in between the Vision Pro and the Google Glass, where it's got the really good pass through, but it's not super bulky. It's a lot smaller, and you could wear it feasibly while you're like walking around without looking like a complete doofus.
Yeah, which I think the looking like a complete doofus thing, I think that will be less. I don't think we need it. I don't think we need it to become like literally it just looks like a pair of Ray-Bans.
No, exactly. Because people started wearing it. There's been tons of stuff like people walk around wearing AirPods.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I mean, when the AirPods first came out, there was all these fucking. I think it was Vines at the time, wasn't it? People taking the piss where they'd just be like sticking tampons in their ears and saying this is what you look like. Where and now like it's like if you see someone with earphones in when you're walking around city streets, they're probably AirPods, and they're probably got their fucking white stalk sticking halfway down the face, and yeah. I'm
gonna say when I was in year 11 at school, as a joke, I had a crappy pair of earphones I got for free with one of my phones I got. Remember when phones used to come with stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for environmental reasons, it's good that they good that they don't come with anything now. No cable.
Oh yeah.
Plug.
Yeah. Thanks to
accessories. Yeah, thank you. We're eternally grateful. But they came with these headphones. They were terrible. So I remember I cut the cable on them. And then I used to. This is like how much of a dork I was. I'd walk around with these headphones in my ears where I'd cut the cable off. And I told people and I told, well, yeah, and I told people they were wireless headphones.
And did they ever challenge you on it?
Well, yes, they did. Some people were like, "Oh, wow, that's incredible," and then I was like, "Haha, not really. These are just headphones. They cut the cord off, and then they."
I mean,
come out,
technically they are wireless.
Well, technically they are wireless.
Technically, you weren't lying. You didn't say they were working. They technically.
Now, normally at that point, when I revealed my ruse, they'd be like, "Oh," and then walk away. But I had a laugh about it, and because it was incredible to me. I was like, "Oh, these will never exist. Look at me, guys! I got wireless headphones." Whoa. And it's like they were like AirPods, probably a bit more bulky.
Oh, that's my kind of.
Yeah, you'd find it funny, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Apple, I'll see you in court for stealing my design. I think I still have them somewhere.
Yeah.
These headphones, but Speaking of future tech,
should we talk about the Fediverse?
Let's talk about the Fediverse.
So,
which I don't know. I don't know what it is.
So I'll admit I don't fully. You being a tech minded bloke, I'm sure you'll have heard about back in our old days when we used to in the good old days when we used to work for the same company. You'll have heard one of our mutual colleagues talking about federated authentication, for example.
Oh, vaguely.
So basically, federated is kind of if you think of it in terms of like I think it's very much so in the US you've got say the federal government is like
so the federal government can see all of your passwords.
Yeah,
got
basically
it.
No no so the federal government is like an overseeing authority over all of the states. So it's like one government over multiple jurisdictions. So
deep state.
So the meaning of federated basically is like, for example, in Microsoft you have federated authentication, which basically means other services can use your Microsoft authentication to as a way of identifying you as a user and logging into.
Oh my god, do Microsoft actually call it that? Is that their like name for it?
Yeah, it's called federated authentication.
That's the most Microsoft name for something. They would pick the like dorkiest.
Yeah, but that's become like the industry standard term. So the Fediverse is basically, I think the name is kind of spun off from the metaverse, but it's not. It's actually cool. So you must have heard of Mastodon.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Mastodon.
Yeah. So
by the way, I mentioned the deep state earlier. I don't believe any of that nonsense.
Okay, cool. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, Mastodon.
I was trying to stay on track whilst you were rambling bollocks in my ears.
So Mastodon.
Yeah, so Mastodon's an example of one of these services. Basically, the idea is basically rather than having a load of closed source platforms, so it's quite similar to what we were already talking about really just now. You basically have an industry standard for online content publishing that ideally all platforms subscribe to, and then you can basically view you can choose what you use to post the content on is like your front end. So for example, Instagram alike, and your post would also then be viewable on a Twitter alike.
I have one question already.
Or a YouTube alike sort of platform. Is the idea basically.
Right.
But it also could be all decentralized. So basically, you can have multiple different servers that are all. So like with Mastodon, you can host your own Mastodon server. Basically, that's and you can choose what. So your username, for example, could be Kieran at scrambled.net. And that's an instance of Mastodon, but you don't necessarily have to be on that server to see. It's kind of like an email address. You can have, yeah.
I already have a question about it, which is like.
So do I. I have many questions. I don't really fully understand it.
how have we? Isn't this just reinventing like RSS? How is this different to something like that? I know it's obviously a different. It's
Sorry, you completely cut out there for like, and then I got, how is this different to something like that?
How is this different to RSS? Is this not just social media RSS? It's like you put out a feed and then you have a reader.
It is.
And then the reader just interprets it.
It is, but it's more advanced because things like likes, follows, etc. will it's more feature rich.
It's a two-way RSS then, so it's an RSS feed, but people can react to it, and then you see.
Yeah.
So you as the quote-unquote publisher, aka poster, put out your RSS feed, which then people can view in whichever reader is their reader of choice.
Yeah, it'll propagate across lots of different the different servers and stuff. Yeah.
They subscribe to it, so you put that in your central place, e.g. your server, and then they would subscribe to your RSS feed. They would pull down your RSS feed. They could react to it. That would then get sent back to you in a standardized way, like email.
Yeah.
And then you would then see it on your client.
Threads, I believe, already supports it.
Wow, I'm amazed they're still putting dev time into Threads.
Apparently, it's actually not syncing.
As in like Threads syncing with Instagram.
No, as in like it's not syncing.
Oh, not syncing,
syncing like a ship with a big hole in it, like the fucking Titanic sub.
So I would argue that like it may not be syncing, but what's its like monthly active users?
I don't know.
And is that sustainable?
Frankly, I don't care. It was more of an example of like it's not just
Threads,
random.
Threads has
not
added
just random
it, so...
started. Like Meta is addressing it as like an actual thing that might.
So the like the 1,000 monthly active users of Threads, which are sustainably constant at like 1,000, or however many it is, have access to this. But like, I don't know. It sounds interesting, but then there's a reason that RSS feeds are kind of dying out, right?
Proprietary technologies being pushed by big corporations.
So why would this not kind of go the same way? Why is it they would want to push it? I guess if you were...
Well, they don't want to push it, but they might be forced to.
Oh, as in like it would be EU regulations who would say you must
because
provide...
it's kind of the same sort of thing as the messaging thing.
Kind of like if you have a profile somewhere.
Because if you think about it, like, I mean, I feel like we desperately need standardization. Like even techie people like us despair at the amount of different messaging apps there are, and different like what if it didn't matter that there were so many messaging apps, because you could communicate with everybody regardless of what messaging app you have without having to use any fancy application that can group a load of different messaging services into one place, and the same goes for your social media stuff. You could just follow a person and say a YouTuber, and you could just see their stuff through YouTube, and it might not be the ideal formatting of everything that they're posting. They might be posting content that's more kind of suited to an Instagram kind of like platform, but if you don't want to use Instagram, you can still view it and interact with it, and you can kind of filter based on, oh no, I'm more interested in this style of content, or I don't know.
It's kind of interesting how like
I don't fully understand how it would work, to be honest, but like I am for like a more like standardized kind of like an open, decentralized internet that's not where you can jump around. You're not kind of tied to one.
One platform.
Yeah, like YouTube is a monopoly, and that's not a good thing.
I've got 3 thoughts on this that I'll rattle through.
Only 3?
That's okay. Only 3. Only
okay.
3.
I'll
only
count
3
them.
thoughts in. Only 3 thoughts in my brain right now. The first is more of an observation.
I'll count them using all of my arms.
Yeah, my first is just more of an observation that it's super interesting that we're basically holding up a standard that's as old as email, as like the gold standard of like you can have it on a bunch of different clients, they all interoperate with each other, and the fact that like dates from the like good old days of the internet when it was a lot more just about open information sharing.
Techno optimism.
Yeah, tech nerds just openly like, oh, let's share information. Yeah, let's make this work with this. Which
That
really
absolutely
interesting to
is
me.
what it is, though.
Yeah, it's like back in the good old days, which I applaud wholeheartedly, because
Well,
it's great that you can view your email on anything, right?
If you think about it, imagine what would have happened, though. Like, so we go back to when the mobile phone was starting to take off. Imagine if SMS hadn't been a thing. Imagine if you couldn't send messages between different mobile carriers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or
right?
you could only make phone calls to people on the same mobile carrier.
Yeah, it's really cool how like...
Do you think that technology would have taken off?
It probably would have done, but just been dominated by like Nokia or something, which would have been very upsetting, because then we wouldn't have got the kind of speed of innovation that we got in mobile phones. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
That we're going back to more of the good old days. The other thought was that I'm really curious as to whose servers does this live on?
Well, that's the point. It doesn't have to live on. It can. You could.
It doesn't have to.
You can literally spin up your own instance, or you can join another one, someone else's. So you could join the @Meta instance, or you could spin up your own instance, or you could join the @Scrambled instance.
If you're like YouTube and you spend an absolute fortune on hosting, what's your like benefit to supporting these clients that don't really do anything for your platform? But then it's like if I'm playing devil's advocate,
there isn't a
benefit.
There isn't a benefit to them.
Yeah, it's like if I'm YouTube, then it's like, okay, I have to now support
the only benefit is if this starts to take off, or it's mandated by some kind of overseeing body.
And that's like my final thought on it.
I can see that happening. Because
yeah, I could see that.
Because
like
look at what's happening now. Like we mentioned earlier with the WhatsApp thing being forced to be interoperable with other messaging services.
Here's what I'm interested to see rather than anything, and this is like my third thought on it. So if you're YouTube or if you're Meta, probably a better example, and your platform is ad supported, how does this work in terms of if you're subscribing to someone's content? How does that work in terms of them serving ads to you, which is what pays for their platform? So like,
well, if you're viewing it through the @Meta instance or @Facebook instance or whatever it is, you'll be seeing the adverts inserted into that feed, I imagine.
But does that mean, so you've only subscribed to say on Facebook, right? You've subscribed to...
You wouldn't be subscribing to them on Facebook. You'd be subscribing to them on the Fediverse, but viewing that through Facebook.
So this is what I don't get, because you're on the Fediverse, right? You're a Fediverse client. So presumably you're either not logged into Facebook or...
No, you would be logged into Facebook. So basically, if your account, so your account is tied to an instance.
Right, so you're logged into Facebook.
So you log into that instance, but any posts that you make can then will propagate to other instances, providing that they haven't filtered it out. It will propagate to other instances, and
so I guess
it's kind of like a home. Your account belongs. Its origin is on this instance, but then it can propagate. Your posts will propagate over to other instances. And
so if you're a user, and you've got this like dashboard set up of like, okay, I've got. So the idea is you have one space, right, for like, here's all the people I follow on Instagram, here's the people I follow on Facebook, here's all the people I follow on YouTube.
Mm.
If you've got like a platform that has more of a feed approach, where do the ads come from / render?
So
if you've got this homepage and you've got like 3 people you subscribe to on Instagram, a few from YouTube.
Yeah, but I think where you're misunderstanding. So you'd still be on Instagram.com. For example, if that's the instance that your account is tied to, but you would be viewing not just content that other people have posted to that instance. You would also be viewing content that other people have posted to other instances that you follow, that's propagated over onto that instance. So it's decentralized, but Instagram could still insert adverts into that feed.
So I guess it's like,
but they couldn't. But those adverts wouldn't propagate over to other people's instances, I believe. That would be how that would
right.
work.
So you'd still have you'd still see the ads that were targeted to you as a user, and presumably they'd still come down with their own tracking from those platforms.
But they could only track your activity on that instance, though.
Right. So they'd serve you them.
So if you thought fuck Instagram there and how they're going about running their instance, you could go and join Open Scrambled instance and still view all the content that's being posted via the the at Instagram instance, or like .Instagram instance, or whatever the fuck they're called. But you're no longer subject to all the tracking of your activity on that instance because you're not on that instance.
So that would be hosted then by like us out of the goodness of our hearts.
Yeah, or you could spin up your own instance. You could run your own instance on your own server.
But where would you pull down the data from?
It's a decentralized network, so just anyone you follow, your instance will just pull anytime they post. It will be pulling, same as like a push notification or anything.
Also, it's like peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
But in that case, would it not only push to you when they were online?
I don't know how the technology works behind the scenes,
yeah,
Kieran.
I'm
going to level with you, but all I know is the overview is basically you can see if you follow someone, it doesn't matter what instance they're on or what instance you're on, you'll see their stuff on your feed.
Okay, all right.
So basically, the overview of it is basically it gets rid of the monopoly problem, because basically the only thing that they no longer have the thing that the reason that no one can compete with YouTube is because they'd have to get all of the users off YouTube on their platform as well to have a level playing field to be able to compete and say, oh, well, we've got this feature and YouTube doesn't. Because it doesn't matter if they've got a better feature set. If everyone else is still on YouTube, no one's going to use it. But this
or
would,
if half your creators move over, then it's But
if YouTube had to be in this Fediverse and NewTube, or like New YouTube, a competitor came along and was also on the Fediverse, they would already have all that content, all those users there, because neither of them have the users. The user on the Fediverse, as it were. So I could just hop over. All my favorite creators would still be there, but I'd get all the features of this other platform, whatever they are, whether they're privacy features or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
I don't fully understand how it works or what. To be absolutely honest, it's interesting, and my question is: should we join the Fediverse? Should we try signing up for, say, something on Mastodon, or creating a Mastodon, something like that, and just
it's super interesting
to figure out what it's all about.
Where I see we would have trouble with it is that if our content is mostly video or audio, I'm struggling to see how, because that's got to be hosted somewhere, right?
Yep. It's in the cloud. It's in the cloud.
Yeah, but it's who's paying the AWS bill for that? who's paying the Azure bill for that?
Well, you pay for the storage on your instance, but if you join
if you're a YouTuber and you wanted to join the Fediverse, you would then you would go from your video hosting's not your problem to now I have to deal with the headache of hosting video.
No, because you could join the YouTube instance.
But what if you didn't? If you wanted to move to YouTube, or
then you join their instance.
Right. So you'd still have to have someone who has the tech to make. So it still puts a massive barrier to a YouTube competitor, because hosting video worldwide reliably.
Well, no, because only if. Because people don't have to be on their instance for the content to be visible on their instance.
That's what I'm not getting. That's the bit I don't understand, because if you were if you were YouTube,
I don't understand
you're not
it either.
Well, that's the thing, because you don't avoid YouTube. I don't understand what more features you get if you just get like a different YouTube.
I don't know. I feel like I'm woefully unprepared to discuss this topic, and this is probably the most scrambled checksum episode we've ever done.
If you understand this stuff, please explain in the comments.
I really don't. Which is why I was hoping that you'd know what the fuck we were talking about.
I'm just confused by the fact that like I don't know where does this video content
Welcome
live?
to the Scrambled Checksum, where two nerds talk about we're not even this episode. We're not even pretending to know what we're talking about.
Well,
we actually have no fucking idea.
No, where does the video
Please, someone
live?
help. Where
does the video live?
I'm so confused.
Well, what we'll do is we'll.
I'm
try
glad
it.
you don't understand it either, Kieran.
Well,
although that is purely based on me not understanding it and trying to explain it to
I'm just
you.
struggling with where
I
the
might be a
files
massive
live.
dum-dum.
Where do the files
Everywhere,
live? 'Cause
Kieran. They're in the cloud.
It's in the cloud, whatever. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah,
we'll try.
It. As long as you don't think about it too hard, then they'll carry on being there.
Yeah, as long as you don't worry about where the files are actually located.
Yeah, then you'll be able to see
how you're
them.
going to serve content.
Yeah, they'll be
worldwide.
beamed right into your eyeball by your Apple Vision Quest.
It's peer to peer. It's peer to peer. That's how everything. It's just it's peer to peer.
It's not peer to peer though.
Peer to peer. It's peer to peer.
I don't know whether it's. Yeah, okay, I guess the question is like so say I post to the YouTube instance, in order for you to view the content on the new YouTube instance, as we're calling it, does that mean that instance has to have a copy of it, or does it just purely just go, okay, there's demand for this, and then it'll pull down? I think that's how it works. I think it's more like it'll be like a link to it.
That's what I don't understand.
And then if someone wants to view that the actual in detail, then it'll pull it down, and then the next person who views it will be viewing it on that instance.
But isn't that just like a YouTube embed?
No.
Because the files pull down.
No.
The first person that views it gets a really bad viewing experience because it has to be streamed to them twice.
It's more like a CDN.
Okay, so but then it's what I don't get. So where are the servers?
An instance is a server.
So if you're in the US and you pull down content from an instance that's based in the UK, you'll get a really bad experience because there's no server local to you with the file.
Probably,
unless
yeah.
the instance has
unless the
CDN.
instance, yeah.
So basically, you couldn't make a competitor to YouTube on it unless you invested a ton in infrastructure. Because
well, no, you could, because you don't have to host all the content.
You'd have to host most of it though, right? Otherwise, everyone's going to get slow video.
Kieran, I don't understand.
It's like you can't just be like, oh, we're a YouTube competitor.
Just don't think about it, Kieran. Just don't think about it. It's the Fediverse. It's
how
magic.
It sounds like
it's
to
magic.
Me,
it's just like NFTs and cryptocurrency, and the blockchain. It's magic.
How it sounds like to me is that
it's the future.
Okay, here's the future. You go to scrambletube.com/v = video ID. It then redirects you to YouTube to that same video ID.
It doesn't redirect you.
Well, that's how it sounds like it works. It's like, okay,
it sounds like that's how it works because I don't know how it works and I'm trying to guess. And you are way more qualified than I am to even have an educated guess at this, Kieran. I was really hoping you knew what the fuck
is that our little shitty server we've got running. It's like, okay, you send a request to us of like, I want this video ID from YouTube. Our server then goes to YouTube and then with our shitty code pulls down the data and then rebroadcasts it to you.
The Fediverse is an ensemble of social networks which can communicate with each other while remaining independent platforms. Users on different social networks and websites can send and receive updates from others across the network.
That sounds more like it's the different platforms work with each other in interoperable states, rather than it being like I can start my own Instagram and but not have to solve any of the problems that Instagram had to solve.
I think it's both.
So I could, but I'd still have to, I couldn't.
Well, you can start a Mastodon instance. So I think there's it's like a. Hang on.
I think basically I could start my own Instagram, But
research, as always, is required.
I think if I started my own Instagram, I could do it, but I still have to solve all the problems Instagram wanted to if I wanted to operate at the same scale as Instagram operates and host all the content myself. But the idea would be that people could still push content into me and I could deliver it to people with a standard format. I'm still struggling with how you'd handle, like, if someone liked from Scrambled's instance, pushing that like back to Instagram. That's kind of weird, whether it's like some kind of API connection there of like, oh, I liked this Instagram post on the Scramble.
I'm scribbling with there are different.
I think the best way for us to learn is by doing. Just doing.
Okay, so in summary to that long ramble, the answer to the question that I actually wrote in the topics doc was: should we join the Fediverse? Yes.
Yes. We'll figure it out by doing.
Yes.
What we'll do is we'll sign up for an AWS free trial. We'll not set any billing.
I don't think we need to.
No, we'll not set any billing restrictions, and then in a month we'll tell you what our AWS bill was from running our own YouTube.
Rule number 1 on Mastodon: sexually explicit or violent media must be marked as sensitive when posting. I'm out.
Start our own instance. like with anything, YouTube doesn't let you. YouTube doesn't let you. You just let you play copyrighted music. Start your own instance. Play all the copyrighted music you want. Get a lawsuit from the RIAA. Start your own instance again.
Do not share intentionally false or misleading information. Fuck. That's us out then.
Want to share misleading information? Start your own instance.
Okay, accept.
Want to run ads without declaring a hashtag ad? Start your own instance.
Okay, so I'm setting it. So I'm setting up a scrambled.
This sounds like a bad idea to set up on video, but we will set this up.
Scrambled checksum at Mastodon Social.
Oh no, this is Mastodon. Isn't that one where all the troubling people are on?
No, this is
okay. Good.
Probably not.
Oh no! I don't want to be on some alt-right platform.
It's not.
It's not okay.
It's not that.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Well, I feel like
too late now.
I feel like this is something that we'll plug in the next episode or quietly never talk about again. So
yeah, if this entire last section was just... If you're suddenly at the outro now with no context, then we decided to cut that out.
Yeah.
And you'll never know about it. Mastodon what? Who? Right wing who?
If you'd like to follow our episodes, subscribe to our Mastodon instance. Follow us on, what is it?
I don't think
YouTube
we're setting up an
podcast.
instance. I think I'm setting up an account on the Mastodon instance. But that was cut out as well, so you didn't hear that either.
Follow our Scrambled Checksum instance. Follow us on YouTube podcast.
I'm so lost. I thought I knew what technology was.
Well, assuming that we failed to set up our own stack, follow us on YouTube podcasts. What is it? Apple Podcasts.
I feel my brain is scrambled.
Deezer, Amazon Audible.
I can't
Audible podcast.
Probably.
What's the other one? Well, you need to know the platforms, dude. I don't remember them.
I'm not listening, Kieran. I don't know anymore.
And you can find us for new episodes every other Monday at 8 p.m.
Did you say Pocket Casts?
I didn't say Pocket Cast. I never heard of that in my life. But if you follow us on there, then thank you.
Yeah, it's on the end card now.
Oh, wonderful.
Google Podcast isn't actually sunset till the end of March, by the way.
Okay, so this episode might still be on Google Podcast.
Yeah, ironically, I found that out by Googling it.
Well, if not, we'll be on YouTube Podcasts. And yeah, we'll see you at the same time every other Monday.
We're not right-wing conspiracy theoryists.
We just use their platform because it's cheaper than hosting our own content.
Yeah, because we're morally bankrupt. Okay, bye-bye!
Bye-bye.